and welcome back to episode 9 of the Football Fanatic podcast. With us this week, we have our stalwarts, Dan and Howard, and joining us again is Kieran. Kieran, welcome back. Good to see you.
Hello, gents. How are we doing?
Good now, not bad, not bad. Um, a lot of stuff to cover this week. A fairly entertaining weekend of football, controversial, one may say, but we will cover it all. Thank you very much to everyone who watched and listens to episode 8. Again, we're getting some really good numbers in terms of viewership and listeners, which is brilliant, and we really appreciate it. If you would like to subscribe to the podcast, you can do so on YouTube, and you can also follow us on Spotify. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Football Fanatic Podcast. We'd love to hear from you, so please do get in contact. So we will go straight into it, man. Weekend review, and there is only one place to start, and that is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Dan, you look kind of mad, and we all know why. There's so many different incidents. First of all, obviously Spurs 2, Liverpool 1. There are kind of so many incidents to kind of go over. We will start with the big one that's obviously kind of still getting coverage today, is whole the VAR incident in relation to the Diaz goal that was not allowed, although it should have been absolutely allowed. Very quick recap of what happened. So Salah was playing the ball through to Diaz. He was clearly onside, but the VAR ruled it in the game to be offside. But afterwards, we found out that VAR actually thought that the goal was going to be given, and when what's his name, Darren England, as far as I understand, confirmed check complete, believing that it was going to be given a goal. And you can only wonder, were they watching it on the TV where it was quite clear that the linesman was given an offside, and you just have to wonder what exactly was going on in that kind of small 40-second period as to why they confirmed it was a goal when it wasn't given, what the hell they were doing in those 40 seconds. So I'll go straight to Dan. Let it all out, man. Go for
it. Yeah, it was crazy because it happened so fast that you just kind of, you accepted it. Because looking at the freeze frames, the replays, it looked like he was definitely onside. And then it was just so quick to be kind of like, oh no, it's ruled off. And you kind of play on because you just take it that these decisions that are being made are correct, and that they've, in that particular instance, there was no lines obviously at all for that particular one, which is strange because usually they have lines and you're kind of looking to see, is it red or is it green? That's why I look at it. Anyway, I was waiting for it. Is it red? Is it green? And it was fucking shambolic, wasn't it? In the aftermath of it all, because it was a hard enough result to take, and then when you have what occurred there, and you're after giving a good kind of synopsis there, Declan, to like what the fuck was going on for that period of time, and even like the fact that they kicked off. Surely, if they were watching the game, somebody somewhere had to be getting into the ref's ear and be kind of like, "Oh fuck, we fucked up there." There has to be some sort of, it can't just be restart and let's go, because human error can't happen. Like, I'm not here to absolutely bash the Jesus out of VAR and the lads up there, because like we've had refereeing mistakes we had for years, but of course this technology is supposed to be there to make the game better for all fans. And that's one thing I want to say about it as well. Like, that incident is highlighted. It's not just Liverpool, it's all clubs. Like, everyone should be annoyed about that, because there's been other people on this podcast here that either maybe Howard I can think of one from earlier season for Arsenal, but we definitely have had lads on here that, like, if we had them on here now, we'd be talking about wrongdoings that they've seen already this season. Like, there's been loads of instances throughout, and there's been a few apologies dished out. I know that's kind of thing that Howard Webb has brought in around, be very transparent about what's going on. I know a couple of weeks ago they gave out the audios of a few of the decisions that have been made for holding the hands up. That one, like, it was so bad. High profile game. It did change, I think, because was it 2 minutes after that, then the Sun made it 1-0. Liverpool were down to 10. Really, again, well worked goal against Salah. Like, the passes he's playing this season, like, it's outrageous. The vision and some of the balls he's played through. But like, when in the aftermath, when it comes out, then it's like, it's hard enough. I think we talked about it here in the podcast before. It's hard enough to celebrate fully when you score a goal, because you're always waiting on fucking VAR. But if you have to now go to the stage where you're like not even sure if the fucking lads up in, wherever they are. What's the name of the place again? In
Stockley Park or something.
Stockley Park, yeah. You're not even sure if they're even getting it right. Like, it was an absolute joke.
It was a joke, but I suppose because it happened so quick, and then the apology
quick.
came out. The apology came out after the game saying that there was an error made. But then it went even further. That like the error that was actually made was that they thought it was a goal.
Yeah.
Which makes you question. Like there's a video assistant referee, but there's also an assistant.
Yeah.
To that video assistant referee. So there's two people, and all I can get this from this side, and all I can get from this is that like these two people were not watching the game at that very moment where an offside was given. I remember
there was rumors he went to the toilet or something when I was on Twitter. They're like, oh, they went to the toilet at that exact time.
Back in 5 minutes.
But but do you remember like earlier in the season there they had it on, was it a Monday Night Football where it actually showed the lads in Stockley Park. Look, like there's fucking screens everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Everywhere. It's a huge setup with screens everywhere, and look,
there is no excuse. If
there's no room.
If you're taking a shite, you're bringing a fucking tablet or an iPad with you. That's just the way it is.
It looks like there's no room for error, but clearly there obviously is, because Gary Neville had said it as well. Like there have been a few incidents over the last 2 weeks that have kind of raised questions.
Did you just on that? Did you see the Weezer one?
Yeah, that was a joke as well. Yeah.
Like it is like the faith. I don't know about Gina, but my faith in the whole thing is, just I think for all football fans, if you're watching a game, like what's the fucking point if you're using a system that is coming up with basic ones that anybody can see? You can all see it.
Kieran, what do you want to say?
The problem is the process. Like I think Postecoglou said afterwards that before the technology became a part of it, it was acceptable to accept that not every call was made correctly, that humans get things wrong. But now VAR is here and things are still no better, but yet we're stopping for replays that disrupt the game, and you're kind of left wondering what's the point. And Declan, are you familiar with the work of Franz Kafka, or what it means for something to be Kafkaesque?
No, go ahead.
Kafkaesque it's a situation that is almost surreal, where the rules of reality are not adhered to, something that resembles a dream or a nightmare. It comes from the last name of the Czech author Franz Kafka, known for The Trial or Metamorphosis. All stories bound together through surrealism, confusion, and disorientation, where some dark force operates as a hidden hand behind the scenes. And that's what we have going on here. We have onsides that are off. We have offsides that are onside. We have VAR officials bound together by a code of silence. We've replaced accepting error with blind acceptance to the machine, to the technology, even though we can all see through this madness. We all knew it was onside. It's just crazy.
Madness, yeah. What
the lines not drawn was a funny one for me, because like, if it's onside or offside, you get that green or red line like 10 times out of 10, and it's kind of like some fishy kind of. It would bring you. Well. Say that again, Kieran.
You could see it so immediately on the pitch, even without any lines.
Yeah. But Howard, even on some of the lines this season, though, do you not think sometimes you're looking at going, have they started the line in the right spot?
Yeah,
that's what coming in my head as well.
Yeah. I get all that, but at least they're drawing the lines. This time it wasn't even a line, like, so it was just like, well, they just allowed play to continue, but not even shown.
It will be interesting. Like Liverpool have requested this evening or today that the audio between the VAR and the match officials be released, just so the public can find out what exactly was communicated between the two. It'll be interesting if they do release it. They should, absolutely, to be transparent. But if it turns out that the two lads are out having a cigarette, I mean,
can I say on that deck as well that when that audio piece, like it's very important, and I think why do they never go down the route that the rugby use with the TMO, where you can actually hear the conversation that's been had? You know what I mean? Like that would take some of the confusion out of it. It wouldn't solve the problem, because if you're making fucking ridiculous mistakes, but it would just help people who are there trying to understand like where that decision has come from. If you could hear the conversation, like why can't we hear that? Why not?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it makes sense as to why they can't provide that, because I mean it would clear up everything. It would answer a lot of questions. It wouldn't give everything, but it would answer a lot of questions. Kieran, go ahead.
But look, if the game really shows anything at all, it's that Angie Ball has no limits, and that Spurs blitzing forwards and potential to overwhelm the opposition team are not curtailed by even the mighty Liverpool.
I'm gonna hold on now. I'm going to refute you on your point there because it was 1-1, 9 men versus 11 men. By all rights, you should have won that game. And they were down to 9 men. I mean, it's professional football. Liverpool showed a heart and desire that, like, they had no right to show playing with 9 men. But they stuck in there and they stuck in there. And until literally probably one of the last seconds of the game, they were about to get out there with a draw and they would have fully deserved it.
Can we talk about the game?
Absolutely. Let's go for it. Yeah. Because, I mean, there were so many different incidents. Again, Curtis Jones, red card. I'm just going to get a quick one from me. Kieran, yes or no? Red card?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Howard?
Yeah, a Stonewall red card, like completely.
I also think it was a red card. Dan?
I don't think it was Stonewall, but I can see why it was a red card.
Yeah,
and
I agree with that.
I get Neville. Gary Neville was saying that, like, you know, he didn't intend to hurt him. But I mean, we've all played football. We've all made tackles. 99% of
Exactly.
nobody intends to hurt a player unless, like, you know, Roy Keane on Haaland, etc. There are specific instances when, yes, a player does go in to hurt their opponent, but in the majority of cases, a player does not go in to hurt their, you know, a fellow player. But Neville was kind of using that excuse, and I just thought it was a bit like, that's not the case here. He went over the ball, his foot went over the ball, and it just, unfortunately, his studs happened to go into the shin, and it did look like a leg breaker, and it was a red card. It was an absolute pure and utter accident, but it was dangerous play. He didn't mean it, but it ended up being dangerous play, and I think it was absolutely a red card. The second red card for Diego Jota, I don't think he should have had a yellow card in the first place. I thought that was a ridiculous call. But knowing that he had been booked literally 2 minutes beforehand to do what he done then to get the red card, I thought it was a bit ridiculous, and he put his team in a very, very difficult situation. Dan, any comment?
Yeah, like, I just think regardless of whether the first one, because I've seen a lot of fans and Liverpool fans talking about the first one not being a yellow card, but regardless, when you're on a yellow, like, that was fucking nonsensical. You nearly wanted to go and get the betting patterns over in fucking Portugal to see that someone have a bet on him getting a red card. Honest to God, it was so fucking stupid. Like, but it was just, he was nowhere near the ball. I know he was trying to win it back, and it was I think it was very quick, wasn't it, from the yellow to the red? There wasn't much time between them.
What I know, so who was the defender that he clipped?
In Doggy. Was it in Doggy? Yeah, it was, is it? Yeah.
They literally 2 or 3 seconds before the Jota foul, they were tussling with each other, and Doggy, whatever his name is, he kind of had a go with him. So maybe, and we've all played, someone's had a go, you retaliate literally without even thinking.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's literally...
It was really bad though. Like, it was a really, really silly one, and especially like there's no, it's inexcusable, like that one. There's no.
I suppose on the result itself, Tottenham 2, Ange Ball, again, I was impressed. I thought it was a really good game overall. I thought the last 25 minutes, Liverpool, like, Tottenham struggled to break them down. Liverpool were set up like 5-3, and like, it was tough. With 9 men, but I suppose Liverpool deserve a lot of credit for the way they played, and had they come out with a point, like, it would have been unbelievable. But Tottenham persevered. They got their goal, albeit through an own goal. For the Matip own goal, like, you felt so sorry for him. But again, just when the ball came in, a ball like that, you never let it cross your body. Just get your right foot to it, get it out of there, back towards the corner flag. But it came across his body, and like, when you're doing that, you're risking a slice that could end up anywhere, and that's what happened.
I suppose you could say though as well that the amount of pressure that they were under, even though like, I completely agree there. Like, I kind of disagree with Kieran. I think it was kind of said a small bit tongue in cheek, and that as well in relation to Ange Ball, because like, I came out of that game, I was disappointed, gutted, because I thought like that would have been a really massive point to have got given the circumstances, and then what came out with the VAR thing, like, a massive result for Liverpool. But in that 25-minute period down to 9 men, I thought Spurs created very little. The fact that they actually took off James Maddison before the end of the game kind of nearly, that signified how much they were struggling to try and break Liverpool down. I don't want to say that Ange Ball was kind of found out that it's just one way of playing, because I know it's difficult, playing against 9 men, 10 men, like that's not something that you're going to come up against too often in the Premier League. Definitely against 9 anyway. So I kind of felt nearly it showed more up maybe Spurs a small bit than the actual result, and it showed more maybe about Liverpool's character. Like I came out of that game, and once I kind of dust settled, thinking, right, that was actually a really, 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 really tough game, and a really, I think, steely performance from the Reds, and I just
can't make up words, Dan.
Yeah. I showed you it's a word, right? Steelier is a word.
Okay.
But I felt that it was a great game. The red card, even after the red card, I thought Liverpool were probably the better side. Should have went in front, and second half as well looked dangerous. When it was 1-1. So yeah, I think look, fair enough. Spurs have got the result. And it's a massive one for them, beating Liverpool. But I'm kind of happy, if I kind of again it showed the mentality this season is it's so different than last season.
It's been brilliant so far.
Yeah, game in, game out, they just seem to be able to dig in, especially two games where they've been digging in with 10 men, and we're very, very lucky. I thought in the end not to get a result. I just think Matty maybe he was just fucking wrecked, and just they were under an awful lot of pressure, in that final. But it was sickening to lose. Well, you wouldn't mind if someone scored a screamer or a worldie, but for it to be an own goal and pretty much the last kick of the game, near enough, I think Liverpool cleared that, it was over. So anyway, look, handball continues, but I'm kind of comfortable knowing that somewhere along the lines here they'll go through a tricky period, I think.
I'd agree with that. All right, we'll move on, but we will. It will be interesting to see kind of where this VAR thing ends up. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Can I just ask you? Sorry, just one more question on that. Where is there? I seen that Liverpool have put in. They talked about going down channels. Do you, Kieran, or does anyone know anything about? Is there actually any channels to challenge? Not really, isn't there? Not. I don't think so. Yeah.
Well, there's no precedent for it yet, but didn't they say something like they're reviewing all their options or something like that? So they may create a channel, and there could be something. I personally think that you just need to scrap VAR at this stage. I think it's beyond.
Dunphy called for it in the papers this morning to be scrapped. Yeah. You'll also remember when a goal was scored against Leeds, didn't Bielsa allow the opponents to literally walk the ball into the net, basically. And I think Postecoglou, if he had any sort of a heart, he would have allowed Liverpool to do the same. I won't
hear Postecoglou's good name besmirched on this podcast.
I think if he knew, though, if he had known it was a mistake, I think he actually would have been one of the managers that would have been for maybe doing something like that. But like the ref, I don't know about the ref. I know like the game restarted, but why wasn't someone just in his ear? They didn't tell him to half time, wasn't it, or something? Anyway, look. It's over now anyway. It's over.
Postecoglou has been built up as this, this gentle giant lad. But I guarantee you, when he got into that dressing room afterwards, he's going, fuck those Scousers. All right, we'll move on. This game I don't particularly want to talk about, but we have to. Wolves 2, Man City 1. Fair result. I watched the match. We were very poor. And also, I wouldn't say we're dirt, but we were poor. We also lost in the Carabao Cup to Newcastle during the week, so I'm not going to be too worried about, because we are missing some key players, but I did believe that we had enough quality on the pitch to beat Wolves on Saturday, but they took the game to us and they punished us. Neto punished us down the right wing. He kind of gave Ake a lot of trouble. I suppose Rodri looks to be, like we said this a couple episodes back, just how important he is to this Man City team. But I'm kind of seeing it now against the likes of Newcastle at the weekend, and now I'm kind of I'm not terrified of Sunday, but I think Arsenal could absolutely do damage to us if we don't kind of cop on. So Howard, just in terms of Rodri missing, how important do you think that could be this Sunday for the game between us and me?
Like there's a slight crack appearing down the middle of Man City's team, and it's because of him missing. And I only caught like the highlights of the City game, but and I watched the last 20 minutes on my phone
Can
at a
actually
wedding.
just, yeah. I just must bring that up. Howard was at a wedding at the weekend, all right? And he sent us kind of a screenshot of him having like 2 or 3 phones set up on the go, watching all the
We had
all the games.
we had a few pints of beer, pints of Guinness, holding up the 3
Holding up
phones.
the
We were watching
Brilliant.
the Arsenal game, the United game, and the Wolves game on 3 different phones at one stage.
That's commitment. That's
Yeah.
commitment.
Well, like,
Absolutely.
the only reason we were watching the City games because they're losing, like, you know. We wouldn't be
Legally,
watching otherwise.
may I add, legally.
Legally. Oh yeah. All above board. All above board.
Uh,
No, but look, it was the Korean guy, wasn't it, that did the damage in the end? Did you
it
hear
was.
that? Did you hear that from Pep?
No, go
I don't know
on.
if you
What did
saw
he
that
say? Go on.
in the pre-match thing. He was basically saying, "Oh, Wolves are so good; they're so good up front with Neto, Cunha, and the Korean guy."
Oh dear.
I don't know if you've seen that. And then Chang ended up scoring the winner, like, so.
He was relentless. He was so good
Yeah,
up front.
Yeah,
I'd
very good.
say it was a bit of bad blood there after you heard that, maybe, or something. I don't know, but yeah, Wolves are counter-attacking team that they can do damage. Like, I just thought that there was something missing from the City performance. Just,
There
I
is.
think,
I
yeah, it
can't,
was.
like, Rodri aside, I can't put my finger on it. Maybe I know we're kind of bedding in a few new players,
Yeah,
Nunez, Kovacic
Doku.
as well, Doku as well, and they all started. But I don't know. Look, from wearing my City hat, I was pissed off with the result, but I can't complain about it because we didn't deserve to win.
Yeah.
Alvarez got a beautiful goal, but aside from that, like, we couldn't. There was no end product. Um, so yeah, we need to kind
It's
of
a good
get
time
back.
for Arsenal to play
It
them
is. It is. I mean, and I'm
on
not looking
Sunday.
forward to going to Arsenal on Sunday, but you know,
Two words that there's the 2 words that Rodri brings that I think City lacks. Well, I watched the game on Saturday. It was control and calmness.
Mm.
They didn't have either. I think I mentioned at the start of the season about him being their most important player. I think they really missed him
He is.
on Saturday, and maybe a couple of leaders amongst the group. I know there's a good few winners within that group, but whether or not a winner and a leader are 2 different things. And I
Yeah.
think they were missing a few big personalities in there, and maybe even a few guys that would have unlocked the door or would have found that kind of opening. That they
Yeah,
were
look,
just kind of missing that. They ran out of ideas, you know.
Rodri, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, John Stones. I mean, and Silva and De Bruyne, anyways. I mean, you have 2 kind of people that can pick that pass and come up with a goal. But I mean, look, nothing you can do about it. Injuries are part of the game. I suppose one question that I did want to ask you was, again, with my City hat on, I was disgusted, but kind of with my just normal football hat on, it's good. It was good for the league that City, you know, the Kieran, why are you laughing at?
So good of you to offer down
Be,
some
be
hope
humble,
for
be
other
humble.
teams.
Such a condescending prick.
I'm being genuine here, right? It is good for the league that City have slipped up because I don't want any team, whether it's City, Liverpool, Arsenal, I don't want any team running away with the league because there's no fun in it, there's no entertainment in it. You want a competitive league, and the fact that City have shown vulnerabilities, it's a good thing for the league. I don't care if I support Kieran, go on.
See now, this is said from a place of privilege. If this was 30 games time, we're coming towards the end of the league, and you're joint top, or you're fighting neck and neck, you wouldn't be talking about how good it was that you dropped 2 points to Wolves.
Did I say that? I didn't
down
say
your
that.
neck.
I didn't say it was. I didn't say that it was good that we dropped 2 points. You need to improve your communication skills, Kieran. You're not listening. You know.
Well, look, my only point from this game is, yeah, I totally agree that there's a calmness and control. You mentioned, Dan, that Rodri himself as a footballer is immense, but also the place he fits into that system, and someone else not being able, just not being the same person who occupies the same role in the same way. But then from the Wolves side as well, like, Gary O'Neill is doing a really good job, and he's kind of steadied the ship, and they're playing some good counter-attacking football. And I think that, especially the way Bournemouth are going, no wins yet, I think they're going to rue getting rid of someone who seems like a pretty solid, sensible manager. And yeah, kudos to him for one-upping Pep.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the United result, and then when we played them as well, they had that in the locker to go and do damage to a big team.
Yeah.
If it's allowed against us, the United game, they definitely should have got something. And so it was kind of coming, and no one thought that it was going to come against City, mind you. But you know, they have that in the locker that they can trouble big teams. So if they can do that against the teams around them, you know, they should be pushing themselves away from the relegation places, shouldn't they?
Yeah. I think so.
As I was saying, it's good for the league. You know,
Good for the
good
See how good it is on Sunday.
I'm being genuine. It is good
No,
for
like
the league.
Zach, just
Howard,
on
are you
that.
going to back me up here?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like last week, Dan, you were saying the title was gone or the league was over, weren't you?
Yeah, having a bit of crack.
I know, it was only a joke, but like it does bring a bit of life into it again.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you.
But I think that's also our own fault for assuming that City are going to go and win the league hands down without winning all their games. So that's just the mentality after the finish of the season last year. But they can't do that for the whole season. The way they finished last year, they could just with rotation and Champions League and everything, you just can't do it. So it's not a surprise that they're going to be dropping points here, there, and everywhere. And people shouldn't be surprised if there's a proper title challenge either. Like
It'll be wonderful for the league if the Gunners go and fucking smash them at the beginning.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah. That would be great.
You know what? If that happens, I'll come on next Monday and I'll be humble and I'll say, look, we have it's a great league we watch. Okay, come here. Howard, we will continue with you. Bournemouth 0, Arsenal 4. What did you think?
Good win. 2 penalties. I think they dominated the game. Defensively, were very sound. Kai Havertz got off the mark finally. Quality strike from inside the box. But no, I thought that was nice. I thought that was a good idea to give him the penalty and just take the weight off him, because there was also a part of me was like, oh geez, he better not miss this because he's going to get run out of the club if he misses this. So but no, look, it was positive to have Declan Rice back. Saka was fit. It was just a good overall performance. Odegaard again back to his best. So yeah, I think they're in good form coming into the City game now. They're playing Lens. I think is it this week? There's a Champions League game. So then they'll away in Lens, and then they're playing City. So that'll be the big one. But we'll see what happens there. Again, Arsenal have a great track record against City, so I'm not jumping to conclusions.
I'd be worried about Sunday. For us, not for you.
Will you have any players back, Howard, for Sunday?
Party's back training now. Rice will play, like pretty much be their full
Martinelli, Trossard? No?
Trossard was on the bench there at the weekend, so he'll be back. Martinelli probably won't be back. Again, our friend Nketiah, who was shocking against Spurs, like had a great game against Bournemouth. Like he's just a weird player. Like I don't know what it is. It's like he whatever side of the bed he wakes up in the morning, or if he feels like. If he's on form, he's a good player. Like, but I wouldn't be starting him against City personally. But he's been playing all the last few games, so maybe he'll get the nod ahead of Trossard. So we'll see.
Well, the best thing you can do is start Jesus against City.
Jesus up top. Like Jesus was starting, but he was out in the left wing. Like,
what do you make of that?
Not mad about it. He's much better out up top, like and play Trossard or Martinelli out in the left wing.
He is the type of player though that will happily do it. Like,
he'll do a good job. But he's not like Nketiah is a good presser, but not in comparison to Jesus. Like he's not a patch on him, in that number 9 position. So
Kieran and Dan of the game of the weekend. What do you think?
The game of the weekend or about this game? What do you mean?
The game coming on Sunday, City, Spurs, Arsenal versus City.
Well, I think Jesus should be in the middle. I think he's actually a very good defender up top. He puts a lot of pressure, and as Howard mentioned there, on the defenders, doesn't allow much time and allows teams to press up. So I think that'll be part of it, especially if Rodri is not playing.
He's out. He's suspended, so he's gone.
Yeah. So, and it's Arsenal at home too, I think. So at the moment, I fancy Arsenal for that one, to be honest.
Yeah. See the worry getting stretched across your face there, because
it's a great league we have. I love it.
But I will say another thing about Arsenal is that there's another position of privilege for you where they have enough penalties that they can give them to go around to the boy who can't score a goal right now. In the same way you gift your young cousin a freebie when he's playing with kids twice his age. It's so nice of Havertz to get a charity panel.
Dan, what do you think of the weekend? Actually, no, hold on. We have this game in the prediction. So in general, I suppose, what did you make of Arsenal? Of the game, Havertz, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm with Howard there, though. Odegaard is the key. No more than Maddison at Spurs. Because you name, even I think Szoboszlai for us now is so important. Like there's Odegaard is the main man there. I love watching him play. I think he's always the one that'll unlock the door or link up something or find a bit of space for someone else. And I just think that he's so important to Arsenal. Go on.
Didn't Real Madrid get him when he was like 15 or something like that?
Yeah. He was kind of a big wonder kid that came in and
his pressing, Dan, his pressing as well is insane. Like if you watch him, actually, his press, like when the back four have the ball in the opposition, he leads from the front. Like he's brilliant.
They made him captain, Howard, didn't they? There's not too many at his age being made captain of the club. So like you know what I mean. It says all you need to know about him. I just think he's so good. But he for me as well. If he was out of the Arsenal team, it don't happen or type of player there that could do that. But Arsenal are flying. I think again, Howard asked for earlier in the season for them to go back to Gabriel alongside Saliba, and again, I think they're a lot more solid again now. And I think the weekend, I know we'll talk about it maybe a bit more later on as well. I think both sides might cancel each other out this one because I know that Arteta kind of has taken a lot of the stuff that Pep has been doing with City. They're very similar kind of setup, so I think that they might cancel each other out. I'm not sure whether or not. I know City have come off the back of a couple of poor enough results, but whether or not the Arsenal can get the job done, like a real statement in regards to title race. So
absolutely,
if they go and beat them on it. But from a Liverpool perspective, I'd like it to be a draw. So.
That's fair enough. Another standout result of the weekend that none of us saw coming was Aston Villa 6, Brighton 1. Both teams have had a really good start to the season. But Aston Villa ran away with this one. I mean, it was almost kind of scary what they did to Brighton. And we spoke about Ollie Watkins last week being at the level of just Aston Villa. But after the weekend, do you have do you want to add anything to that? Do you think he had a great game, first of all? But I mean, if he keeps performing the way he is, I mean,
he does this though, doesn't he? Like that's kind of what we were saying last week. He goes through hot patches. So if he can keep it up for a run of 10 games, we can kind of judge him on that then. But just on the game itself, this is kind of like Brighton are playing Liverpool now next weekend. Like they could go out and beat Liverpool now next weekend. Like they're a very kind of hit and miss team. Like then they're on form, they're playing brilliant. And when they lose a game, they're De Zerbi's up their ass and they're performing the next weekend. Like so, it was sad to see kind of Ferguson didn't really make an impact. So he was sub pretty early on and Villa are just looking good. They're looking good. Yeah. Like, I'd say they'll probably finish, like if you're to think now who's going to finish higher out of them two teams, like you'd probably think Villa probably just have a bit more than them. But it could be tight.
A more settled squad, I think.
Maybe,
you couldn't with Brighton. You wouldn't know from game to game who's going to start. Welbeck gets back in, and then they're making changes. They played a young lad at the weekend that I never heard of was playing in the middle of the field for them. So like you know what I mean. It's kind of, you just think Villa is, know what their starting 11 is going to be when they're fully fit, and they have an awful lot more experience in the Premier League than some of the Brighton players. But like the game of the weekend was amazing. Like it was over after 20 minutes pretty much, and it's like Brighton they were completely asleep. It's like a team that nearly played, like they played their way at Chelsea, but it was like a team that just were going through the motions after a midweek game. They kind of showed a small bit, I think, second half when they got a goal back. They were on top of Villa, but then once Villa scored another one, it was game set and match there. But I feel like, again, Howard, you mentioned, I thought Diaby again at the time he was on the pitch as well. Like he's electric. He's an excellent player. Douglas Luiz was another one as well. I think he doesn't really get a mention at all.
No,
he's a solid player for Villa as well.
I've heard Arsenal are interested in him.
Yeah, there was a time, a few years ago before we got Declan Rice and that there was talk of. Remember, I think they put in a few bids for him, but they wouldn't let him go. But he was ex City, of course.
He was at City.
So, that's right.
Went to Villa, but he was excellent at the weekend. I mean, they just look solid, and Emery is kind of getting the praise that he deserves. He's done brilliant with them, and again, you've seen the form table from the start of the year. They're second only to City, so I mean, they've been brilliant. Kieran, where do you see Aston Villa? How do you see their season going? What would be like? Is it too far to say they could get top 4, or is that realistic?
I think I saw some comments earlier on. I was reading them where they're aiming for. That's where they want to be. That's what they're going for. I think Howard's point is a good one about kind of where will both of these teams end up. I think in the long run, I think Villa probably have that bit more maybe steeliness, to borrow a phrase from Dan's code book. But they are a bit more settled.
It's steelier, not steeliest.
Oh well, in this case, Villa are steelier than Brighton, then I guess.
I did say it last week.
Yeah, I know, but that's right, and that kind of everyone's changing all the time. We have 2 starting goalkeepers. That idea too. That Arteta took was a De Zerbi idea originally. So that's in the nature of Brighton's game, I guess, to always be changing around all the time. But Villa figured them out. Emery found them out. So far, Moisey and Emery have copped Brighton's game plan, and it kind of shows the 2 old hands at work. So I think, Brighton were found out pretty quick. Their press was nullified, and Ollie Watkins was on fire.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll move on to the next game. Manchester United 0, Crystal Palace 1. Look, I suppose United had a bit of a bounce back during the week where they bet Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup 3-0, but obviously Roy Hodgson put out a weaker team, and I thought it was funny as well because during the day on Wednesday, Roy Hodgson came out and he basically said, "We're not taking this cup seriously." So you have to admire him for that, at least, honestly. But I suppose, look, it's been an awful start for Man United. We can all agree on that one. I don't know how they're going to turn it around because it's just Gary Neville was saying that like the culture needs to be basically reset within the club. And I mean, I don't know how you go about doing that. You don't replace the manager again, surely, because Ten Hag is supposed to be like the man to fix things. The Glazers, they're digging their heels in and they're not going anywhere. You're not going to sell the players until January. I mean, is Ten Hag, is he under pressure, or will they stick with the process, if you want to call it that? Dan, what do you think?
No, I think he is under pressure, of course. Like he's playing, probably the biggest club in the world, and they have spent a bit of money. We talked about them having a great window, but it's not as if they didn't spend a good bit of money. Yeah. And given how they probably overachieved last year, everyone's expecting them to maybe mount some sort of a challenge. Excuse the pun there with Mason, but there was a real kind of a sense that there would be, but it couldn't have went any worse for them. Now I will just cut them a small bit of slack, and I think cut Hag a small bit of slack. They've had an exceptional amount of injuries.
Yeah,
like I think Reguilon was he was their panic replacement brought in to give them a bit of cover, and then he's after getting injured. Martinez is now out for a couple of months, so like he's not able to get a kind of a consistent level of performance out of the next players in line, that come in from them, whether it be Lindelof or I think they played Aaron. Was he playing left back? I know he was in that as well. That's not his position. So like they are trying to kind of fill gaps. Then the Anthony situation, from even the playing side. Fair enough, I'm not a great fan of Anthony, but like he's a natural winger on the right side. They're bringing in a lot of blood and a lot of young lads that are coming into a team under pressure, which is always a bad sign when you start bringing the young lads in and expecting to try and get a performance out of them. So I will give them a bit of slack because I think they were missing like 12 first-team players at the weekend or 11 first-team players. That's an exceptional amount. And they didn't have the strongest squad to begin with. And then, but at the same time, the players were on the pitch the weekend. I had them in my Super Six. I still thought that team that was out against Crystal Palace the weekend should be beating Crystal Palace. So he's probably not getting at the same time the best out of. Like Rashford's only got one Premier League goal already 7 weeks in.
Yeah, we said that. Remember, we said at the beginning of the season about United and how well they played last year and the form they were in and how Rashford just was insane after the World Cup. But we were saying, well, that's not guaranteed that he's going to kick on again this season because he is a foreign player. He's gone when he was 22, 23, when he first hit the scene and that he was insane as well. And then he went down and people were like, what's wrong with him? And now, like, is it a case that like the talent's there? Is it the case that he's going to have a dry spell again? And if he has a dry spell, United are in big trouble because he's the only guy who's scoring goals for them. You know what I mean? So
I don't think his attitude is great, lads, to be honest. In a lot of games I watch him, especially when United aren't playing well, he doesn't seem, it's like he there's a bit of Bruno Fernandes in him with that kind of stroppiness and not really putting in the shift. I don't know, that's how I feel about him. He's kind of one of them as well that I'm not sure how great his attitude is. That's just one, and I've talked to a few friends about United fans and they'd share that view as well.
How many Brunos can you have in one team is the problem.
Kieran, what do you think?
There's just a couple of attitudes like that at the club, and like Rashford's form dropping off a cliff is kind of then reverberated across the rest of the team, and you have like these unwanted players like Maguire and Van de Beek having to be pulled in. I thought it was funny watching the highlights. I think
Van de Beek, Jesus, he's
Yeah,
still there.
good talent, but we've been saying,
Amazing.
you know, there's a culture change needed at Man United for as long as, you know, not too long after David Moyes was the first to kind of bite the dust. They're going to keep circling until there is a kind of root and branch change and probably new owners and new culture brought in and all these kind of things. But in the meantime, they just can't get things right. Den Hag is obviously a good manager. He's very skilled, but he's kind of hit a rut now where they have they're probably saved a bit as well by the kind of clusterfuck that is Chelsea at the moment, because they're an even more obviously bloated financial squander of a team. But look, I can't deny how enjoyable it is just to watch Man United struggle so much, because they get, as I said before, they get so much coverage and so much intense scrutiny that when they have this, as I call it, kind of psychodrama ongoing all the time, it just makes it more enjoyable to see them, you know, make 4 subs, each of which cost upwards of 20 or 30 million, and they're having no impact on the day, and they're losing to the old master hand Roy Hodgson 1-0.
I just on him as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like he has in the past as well got an awful lot of. He had a couple of spells at different clubs, Liverpool being one, and you know he kind of gets an awful lot of unfair, I think, kind of slack, you know, or flack online and in the media. But like, you know what I mean? He's come in and he's able to just make Palace solid again.
Yeah, he stabilizes clubs.
No, they lost Zaha. Think about it. They lost Zaha, who was their talisman, and you know what I mean? He's there. He'll comfortably keep them up. They have a couple of really good young players. They probably won't keep a few of them, I don't think, for too much longer. But fairness to him, what age is he? He's fucking
76, and he's still going strong.
Fair folks to him.
And he's some record in Old Trafford. I don't know, did you see it on Match of the Day or somewhere to show us like 2 draws and 3 wins or something last 5 games that he's been at Old Trafford.
Amazing, yeah.
Look, the Man United story continues. Yeah, but it's not going to be good when they're relying on players with the name of Hannibal as well. So, come here. Everton 1, Luton 2. I knew they would eventually get there. Back to next week, it'll probably be back to normal. But anyways, Newcastle 2, Burnley 0, West Ham 2, Sheffield United 0, and Notts Forest 1, Brentford 1. And as we're on the show tonight, Fulham are playing Chelsea. So now we're going to move on to our next segment. Okay, so this is Premier League moments, one that we loved, one that we hated. Okay, so there are so many to choose from. So I've asked Dan, Kieran, and Howard to pick one that they have loved, one that they hated. So Kieran, I'm going to start with you. The Premier League moment that you loved. What is it, first of all, and why?
Okay. For you three and for all of our listeners, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes.
Okay, go on. I'm not going to
transport you back to Saturday, early afternoon, November 2000. It's Liverpool versus Leeds. It's one of those famous early morning kickoffs, Saturday morning. You're sitting down.
I know that one. I know
you got your crusty roll. You're just fervent at the mouth for some football. Yeah, this is my favorite moment. I thought about it and it came to my mind immediately. It's Leeds 4, Liverpool 3. More accurately, it's Mark Viduka for Liverpool 3. He's not the first Aussie Celtic player or Aussie Celtic figure to come south and rip through the league. He's kind of set the way for Ange Postecoglou. No, look, Mark Viduka scored 4 goals against Leeds. He was a recent signing in that kind of heyday of Leeds signing big players, and that was the same year they went all the way to the semi-final in the Champions League. So as David Leary said, they were living the dream at that stage. I think it was tit for tat. They might have went down 2-0 originally, but Viduka was just on fire, and I so vividly remember watching this game as a kid and kind of running outside to dad, who I think was cutting the lawn. I was like, oh my god, they scored another one.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of the excitement of watching football as a kid in all its pure essence, pure Barclays, even before Barclays was promoted.
Absolutely. No, that's a brilliant one. Definitely. I remember it. All right, Howard, move on to yourself now. Moment that you loved.
I went for a game, probably the best 0-0 you'll ever see. September 2003, Arsenal versus United. The season Arsenal went invincible, unbeaten for the whole season. 6 games in, they played United at Old Trafford. And you might remember Patrick Vieira got sent off for basically getting wound up by Van Nistelrooy, got a second yellow card.
Oh yeah,
And then you had literally like last kick of the game, a cross came in and Keown like dragged down I think was it Alan Smith maybe at the time, and or Diego Forlan, some blonde dude up front for United anyway, and went to be a penalty, and of course Van Nistelrooy stepped up and smashed it against the crossbar. And Martin Keown, Martin Keown
roared in his face,
shouting and roaring, like it was literally like going into, I'd say he's like being fed to the lions, like they're there jumping and roaring, and then the whistle goes pretty much straight afterwards, and they're all surrounding him, like basically hitting him with his elbow in the face. So I think, look, it kind of, for me, it was the great rivalry that was United and Arsenal back then, and how we kind of haven't really seen that aggression towards two teams hating each other as much as it was back then. The Keane and Vieira, the Pizza Gates, So the young Ronaldo was out in the pitch that day, jumping around the place. The Gary Neville kicking into Jose Antonio Reyes' legs, so he was sending him back to Spain. So look, it was just, I suppose, it was the epitome of the rivalry, even though there was no goals. Arsenal had won the league 2 years before in Old Trafford, in one of the last games of the season. United won the year after. Arsenal had gone like 30 games unbeaten, I think, and Rooney scored a goal for Everton as like his, when he announced himself on the great stage. And then United won that title that year, 2022 or 2002, and then 2003 Arsenal went the whole season unbeaten and took the title back. So that was the game in the whole thing that would have, if Van Nistelrooy put that in, you wouldn't have the Arsenal invincible team. So for me, that was my I'm still clinging on to that now. Many years later.
No, that was a great one. Remember that well. Keown jumping, his mad look on his face. And
hate.
Coming out of his mouth.
Clocking Van Nistelrooy with the kind of inside of his arm and the back of his head, as if to say, "Fuck you," man. But all right, Dan, what was your favorite moment?
Yeah, so look, I had a few, and I was going to pick the Leicester win the league. I thought one of you would have picked that, so I've gone for something else, and it's a moment that anytime I think about it, I always laugh. I just find it really fucking funny. So I've gone with this one. So picture the scene back, I think it was 2013. We're all a big fan of transfer deadline day, I think. So I'm going to bring you back to transfer deadline day. I think it was in 2013. And it was back in the days of, dildos and debauchery, where like if you flick on to Sky Sports, you wouldn't know what you'd see on transfer deadline day. It was fucking brilliant.
This is genius.
So it was a man called Peter Odemwingie. I think if you remember him from his days at West Brom. So he had taken to Twitter, I think, a week or two before, basically lambasting West Brom and saying that he wanted out, he wanted to leave. So he had gone from being a cult figure to hated over in West Brom. So I think Loftus Road, QPR were bottom of the table. Big Harry was there, fucking ringing anyone that would take a phone call off and trying to get anyone on board to try and keep them up. He got like fucking Lorick Remy. There was a load of lads, Cherno Samba. He got all these fucking lads in. So I just remember Big Jim White, great man on transfer deadline day. I was in a friend of mine, Craig Sheriff's house. It was kind of a thing during the college days where we'd all kind of get together for transfer deadline day and just sit there like and vegetate on the couch and just watching it for hours on end. And Peter Odemwingie decided to drive down the M1, 2-hour journey. He's like Google Maps to see how far actually was it for him to go from West Brom to UPR. 2 hours, but 2 hours, 2 hours and 9 minutes actually, to be precise. Down to QPR, you're right there. It was breaking news. Peter Odemwingie has arrived at Loftus Park, wasn't it? Loftus Road. Yeah.
Road.
For this transfer deadline day move to QPR, and he was like interviewed in the car park. I went to watch it last night with some tears laughing at it, and to watch it again, it was so funny. So he's in the car park, that whole kind of standard, the windows down, and it's what's going on here, Peter? He's like, this is a new chapter in my career. He said, this is the comments, right? He said, it's a new chapter in my career. Harry believes in me was the second one that he said, and he wants to help QPR stay up, right? So there were three things that he said. So anyway, I remember it cut then to to went to a break, whatever, and it came back, and then it was like, there's a drama over at Loftus Road. So basically, they wouldn't let Peter Odemwingie, and he was bags packed. He was there at Loftus Road, and they wouldn't let him in. And they basically, his agent had told him that the deal was pretty much done, and to go over there just to finalise the move. And I just remember the whole thing being for about an hour or two on Sky Sports. It was like fucking pitch dark. It was like 8 or 9 at night. And it was Peter Odemwingie, like, Peter Odemwingie has not got access to Loftus Road's training ground. They won't let him in. And then they had like the chairman, I think, or something from QPR on. They'd Harry out, kind of like, what the fuck's happening here? I just remember a cut to Jim White. Jim White was like, Peter Odemwingie, he's somewhere on the M1. Will he find a club before transfer deadline day ends at 5 o'clock? I just remember me and the lad sitting there bursting out laughing, going, where is Peter Odemwingie? Where is the man? Someone checking on him. He had pretty much he'd cut all ties with West Brom. And he ended up then having to go back there for fucking 6 months before he got a move. But that one for me, of Peter Odemwingie arriving at the ground, and Harry was signing fucking everybody that window, and yet they couldn't get Peter Odemwingie over the night. So I just thought it was so funny. And Jim White, they're all in the studio talking about, oh Jesus, how does that happen? And was the paperwork not right, or what's going on? Because how could he have arrived at the ground and they wouldn't let him in? They told him no to go away. I just thought that one was, for me, it's so very fucking good. Funny, like. Yeah,
that's brilliant. My one, you won't be too surprised by the moment that I've picked. May the 13th, 2012. I swear you will never see anything like this ever again. That was Martin Tyler's commentary on it. It was Sergio Aguero, City versus QPR. QPR were winning 2-0. We got one back. Sorry, apologies, 2-1. Zabaleta got the first goal, and QPR went 2-1 ahead. Then it just went to shit. I mean, United were playing Sunderland. They had to win. Kieran, you were there in the room the same day that we were watching this. And I'm just trying to paint the picture. Like, I was disgusted. We had clawed our way back from, I think it was 8 points behind United. We clawed our way back, beating them on the run-in as well. Vincent Kompany with the headed goal. And then, my God, we were 2-1 down. And then Dzeko got the equalizer in like the 93rd minute, 92nd, 93rd minute. And I was even more pissed. I was depressed. It was horrible. And then Dzeko got the goal. I was even worse then, because it was a feeling of like, oh my God, we were so close, and we're going to bottle this. This was horrible feeling. I remember I felt sick. And Dad being a United fan, the Sunderland match finished. He was in a different room watching the United and Sunderland match. He came in to the room that me and Kieran were watching the City match in, and there must have been maybe 90 seconds left. Sunderland match is over. In he comes, watching the match with us, and then out of nowhere, De Jong to Balotelli to Aguero. And it was just madness. And then Aguero scored 3-2. We ended up winning the title. Kieran has a video of me celebrating. And I've always asked him, can you send it to me? Because I want a copy of it. Like, he'll never give it to me. He doesn't want me to get it. Just it's his little kind of memento of me on that day where I kind of had an out-of-body experience celebrating. We had scored, and then I think my mother shouted in, Declan, I think it's offside. And I kind of roared at her, saying, will you shut up? You don't know what you're talking about, and stuff like this. It was just crazy. But it was just one of them moments that, like the Champions League last season, the Aguero moment will still top that for me. It was just
the commentary as well, Deck. When he's like, Aguero.
Martin Tyler's commentary. Niall Quinn was co-commentating on the day as well. He said he'll never see the best thing in football or something like that. But it was just an unbelievable moment. And then the celebrations, like QPR had just survived as well, and Djibril Cissé had joined in with the celebrations with Manchester City as well. And it was brilliant. It was an unbelievable moment. And yeah, that was kind of most kind of fans have a moment with their club. That one is definitely mine for Man City.
When you grow this podcast big enough and you sell out and put it behind a paywall on Patreon, I will make that video. I will make that video available to your paying customers for like the next tier to access.
Brilliant.
Fair enough. All right, Kieran. A moment in the Premier League that you have hated. Hate's a strong word, but if there's a moment that you really didn't
Well,
like.
I'll say hate, and this is actually super recent.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're familiar with the sycamore gap tree, Declan.
Yeah.
Go
The
ahead.
sycamore gap tree is this tree that's in England. It's on Hadrian's Wall, the old Roman wall. And
Yeah, I do.
it kind of sits in a valley and it's very picturesque and all that. But someone chopped it down there last week, so it's very sad. And people are, personifying the tree to crazy levels, and it's a big moment of almost national shock, especially for the north of England, I guess. But commenting on the tree, Newcastle manager Eddie Howe said he was really saddened by it. Really, I don't know how quite to describe it. When I heard the news, I was just so disappointed that an act can ruin something that's there for the pleasure of everybody. Now, what's quite, I suppose, baffling and kind of enraging about this comment, if you can see where this is going, is that Eddie Howe has routinely said that he will continue to stick to football rather than comment on wider world events. And he famously said that in March 2022, on the same week that Saudi Arabia was reported to have executed 81 people. And today being the 5th anniversary of the murder of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi, I just thought it was an interesting example of Eddie Howe actually being quite open to commenting on some things that are not to do with football when it suits him. Because what I hate about football of the last couple of years is how it's become this political tool for global powers who kind of wish to, I don't know, capture the sport and use it for their own image to forward their own agenda. And I guess I'm just lamenting as well the fact that it's compromised someone like Eddie Howe, who I'm sure condemns all murders like most people, but here he's kind of forced into this weird position, having to tie himself up in knots and navigate this tightrope that is sport in the modern age. So yeah, quite a modern moment, but I think it encapsulates a lot of what's wrong with football at the moment. So yeah,
it's a fair point, and I won't lie, I had no idea where that story was going. I didn't know if I was going to have to cut the show short or something like that. But
I would still advise you to cut half of that.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really interesting point, and I can see why you would really dislike that. So that's a fair point. Howard, moment that you disliked or hated, even.
Mine isn't politically orientated, so unfortunately, mine's more to do with my own sadness and anger that came out in 2011 when I was sitting at home on my couch trying to watch Arsenal to in the Carling Cup back then against Birmingham City, the final.
Oh yeah,
2011. Arsenal hadn't won a trophy since 2004-2005 season, the FA Cup. So we're talking like 6 years later, we're getting all the slagging as Arsenal can't win a trophy. They're such bottlers, blah, blah, blah. We have the perfect opportunity to beat Birmingham City in a Carling Cup final. I know it's a Carling Cup final, but come on, like it's a silverware. They had Nikola Zigic up front. Do you remember him? Big, tall, huge, 6'7" guy. They had Obafemi.
Am I wrong in saying were Birmingham at the time? Were they in the Championship or were they in the Premier League?
They were going down, I think.
They were going down, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
They had Lee Bowyer,
Roberto Martinez, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Roberto Martinez,
yeah. And they had Ben Foster was in goal. Stephen Carr was actually playing as well. And Arsenal had these teams: Van Persie, Arshavin, Wilshere, Brzicki, Nasri, and of course Koscielny and Szczesny, who took the limelight out at the very end. So it was 1-1. Zigic scored, of course, a header, would you believe? And then Van Persie equalised in the 89th minute. And I'm watching this and like, lads, this ball that came in, it wasn't even a threatening ball. Like it was literally, it was a route one. There was not really any Birmingham players even running for it. Like it bounced. And Koscielny was like about to half volley it away, like running back towards the keeper. Szczesny came out, must have called for it as well. Like slid down to pick up the ball. Like basically the ball hit off his knees. And Koscielny didn't hit it, and then hit off his knees, just went to Obafemi Martins, just tapped it in. And I literally went up to hallway. I'm not proud of this now, but I got out the hallway and I just smashed in the door of my kitchen.
Hang on. Is anyone a video of it?
No,
Keep it for the paywall.
There's no video evidence.
When you reach a certain level with this paywall, I will give you a video of this as well.
I basically need I needed in with my kneecap, kind of need in the door. And like the door was a wooden white painted door, and like I had
Oh my
it
God.
had this fucking knee shape indent on the fucking door. And like my parents went nuts. Dad had to take the door off the hinges and fucking buy a new door. Like, but like that was just
Oh my
such
God.
frustration because like it was like this was their chance, and like the team you follow can't even fucking beat Birmingham, and to make like their own downfall. It was just embarrassing. So that was my my
Oh, man.
moment of hatred. I'll never forget.
Football makes you do crazy
Funny
things. Dan, I'll come on to you now in 2 seconds, but just a quick story. I was playing Football Manager years ago. Kieran, you know this story. I think you all know this story, actually. I was playing Football Manager, and it was at the time when Mark Hughes was sacked and replaced by Roberto Mancini. And I was so disgusted that Mark Hughes was sacked, I retired myself from the game in Football Manager, managing Manchester City, because I felt so let down. So Howard, don't feel bad about
You know it feels.
Okay? I 100% know how it feels and what football can do to you. Right, Dan, moment that you disliked.
Yeah, well, look, it didn't take me long to think of this one anyway. It's the Gerrard slip, and that last 3 games of the season.
Oh, yeah.
That was after coming off the back at beating City, and they kind of, let's not let this fucking slip. And then to go and play Chelsea, look, it wasn't a given, but Liverpool were on a unbeaten run. They were so good that season.
Yeah.
Sterling, Sturridge, Suarez, Coutinho, like they were immense, and it just felt as if, after that win against City, that it was theirs to lose.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be easy when you have a Chelsea team under Mourinho coming your way. But for that moment, and then not getting the job done against Chelsea, and then was it a couple of days later? Or was it a week later? Then the Palace thing,
3-3,
like just it was, it was. That one was tough to take. I have to say now that was probably that, and the banter, of course, from every other fan other than Liverpool fans. Well, on top of it, and I'm great with the banter. I just remember that one; it was so fucking bad.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have wrote that if you tried, Gerrard's stuff, and given the player that Gerrard was as well, who kind of, unless you were a Liverpool fan, most of their clubs despise him. So, that kind of period of time, I just really felt that was the year. There'd been a couple of other kind of under Rafa. We went close, but I thought this one, just the team was so good, it was playing so well, it was unbeaten, and then that result over City was so huge that it was in their hands. And so that's the one that kind of stood out very quickly for me.
That was just gold TV, like, for anyone who wasn't a Liverpool fan. I mean, just you could hear in the huddle after the City game, we do not let this slip. And then literally, look what happened. And then there's a brilliant video. It's a very funny video of that whole compilation of him, the huddle, him slipping, and then Tony Pulis just laughing, just laughing at the end of the video. Just, we do not let this slip. Oh, it was brilliant.
Yeah, so that was my one anyway. Like, look.
Yeah, no, I remember that. And as well as that, another friend of mine who's a Liverpool fan, maybe he jinxed because he had bought after he bet City, he bought a Liverpool jersey with champions on the back. And
never a good idea.
Never a good idea. But yeah. Anyways, I feel your pain with that one, because that was how you were unbelievable that season. My own moment, I suppose, it's not particularly a moment that I hated. It's an ongoing thing that has only got worse and worse, and it's players feigning injury. And I just think season on season it gets worse and worse. Literally, the slightest of touches and players are going down now and grabbing their ankle, grabbing their knee, whatever. They're rolling around and they're looking like absolute idiots. And it's something that, what do you call it? You only have to look at other sports, like taking this country Gaelic hurling, and you see the how tough those games are, and then you look at football where these are professionals and they're getting paid ridiculous amounts of money. And I even seen at the weekend, and I have no problem saying it was Kyle Walker who went down at the weekend, and he was he wasn't. He was tapped, if you even want to call it that. He went down and he's rolling around again. It's fucking pathetic to see. Um, that's the level that the game has gone to, and then they roll around and they pretend to be injured. And I get it. Look, time wasting, etc. It's a part of the game, but they go to ground and they roll around, and you're just thinking, Jesus Christ! Like, you do realize this is might not be a live game, but like you're on camera. You're going to be this. Your acting, your play acting is going to be, it's going to be on TV. You're going to be made a show of after this game. Like, surely they're not stupid enough to realize that like what they're doing can be seen, and just they're making a show of themselves and they're making a show of their clubs. And not only that, like, but people are watching it. Kids that are watching it are doing this. I remember when I was refereeing as well a couple of years ago. Like, kids, like, they'd be going down to ground so easily. Literally, they'd be tapped. Their ankle could be tapped. A little shoulder, and they're going down pretending that they're near dead. Like, it's ridiculous. But I mean,
you were refereeing games. Hang on.
I was a fantastic referee then.
No, hold on. You need to devote a whole segment to this. This cannot get shoehorned into the end of an episode.
Okay, we'll go on to refereeing in another episode.
Okay.
I'm a fucking top ref, Dan. Trust me.
Pitchforks at the ready to run back.
But yeah, no, just feigning injury. I can't stand it, and it hasn't gone away. It's still there. Referees, like, I think they need to put more of an emphasis on booking for dissent, or just making an example of these people that are going to ground so easily, making a show of themselves, making a show of their club. It's ridiculous. That's my kind of own personal dislike. Yeah, that was interesting. That was really good. I preferred the happier moments, because some of them moments, Dan, yours especially, Howard, yours is just a little bit insane, but Dan, yours, I could feel your pain.
Deck, it's not a bad sign when a Man City that can't even pick a hated moment. That's relevant to Man City. You're privileged in that case.
I was on the gravy train too long.
Yeah. Don't worry, lads. He'll have it when they go to trial. Don't worry.
Yeah, Dan will say that I will have 115 hated moments coming our way fairly soon. But that will be another episode as well. Okay, we're actually creating good content this evening. I like it. Okay, right. We're going to move on to the Fanatic 4 weekend predictions. So, we have fixtures we've picked this week are Burnley versus Chelsea, Man United versus Brentford, Brighton versus Liverpool, and Arsenal versus City. So, Dan, Burnley versus Chelsea, what do you think?
Burnley versus Chelsea. I have gone for 2-1 Chelsea.
Oh shit! I thought you were going to go Burnley.
Yeah, no, and I know if Burnley managed to get something tomorrow night, is it? I may just at the moment they just look like a team that they're struggling.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
No, Chelsea are struggling too, but I have a feeling that the way that Burnley are playing, that a lot of Chelsea's more players will create enough chances to maybe just have enough to beat them. So I've gone for 2-1 Chelsea. Wouldn't surprise me if Burnley went out there and Chelsea, no, and that could easily happen. But I've gone for Chelsea just to sneak it 2-1.
Okay, Howard, what do you think?
I've 1-1. Yeah, I'm struggling to give Chelsea anything until like the string of few wins together. We'll see how they get on tonight now against Fulham. That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Kieran, what do you think?
I had Burnley 1-0, but just Dan's argument made sense, and I was also looking at the table earlier on. Burnley haven't won yet, so I don't know if Chelsea is going to be the one where they break that. So I'm going to say 0-0.
0-0. Kind of bored. Yeah, very bored.
Well, Vincent Kompany could use a bit of boredom right now to save the ship, I think.
Fair enough. Don't give out about Vincent, though. He's a hero. We'll move on. Man United versus Brentford. Dan, what do you think?
I've gone for 1-1. Yeah, I think Brentford are struggling a small bit, I think, as well there recently. And so I just think that if they were going into a bit better form, I actually fancy that they could beat United the way United are playing at the moment. But yeah, I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Okay. Howard, what do you think?
I've gone 2-0 United. I just think that United can't keep losing games. Like if they keep going this way, they'll just be out of the top 4 challenge pretty quickly. So I think they'll need to pick up points, and I think Brentford are hitting a bit of a blip themselves. So Like that was a poor result against Nottingham Forest there yesterday. Even though they should have had a penalty, but yeah, 2-0 United.
All right, Kieran, what do you think?
1-0 United for a lot of the same reasons Howard mentioned. Yeah, but I don't think they will have enough for 2 goals. So just 1.
Okay. On Brentford, just very, very quickly. Ivan Toney, when he's due back in January, is he?
Yeah.
Will he stay? Do you think he'll go straight away, or will he wait till the summer?
Oh, he won't go. I can't. I think it'd be really poor of him for him to unless Brentford want to sell him in January. I think
I'd
really
say,
poor for him to want to push a move after all that. I would presume the support the club will be giving him behind the scenes.
You see, yeah, his contract then is up the following summer. So if he goes in, if he goes into the summer with only a year left on his contract, it'll probably be that Brentford won't get the price that they'll get if they sell him in January.
Yeah.
So I'd say Brentford might want to sell him in January.
And there's such talk of, is he going to City? Is he going to Arsenal? Is he going to Liverpool?
Yeah.
Is he going
Hold on. We haven't
behind the scenes. I'm just saying that there's a lot of talk about where is he going.
I'd be amazed. I'd be amazed if he's bought, and I'd be amazed if he's sold in January though.
But that's what I think. There's so much talk behind the scenes that either his camp or his team or someone is campaigning for him.
Yeah,
you know. So I think he's up. I think he wants to go in January.
Just on him quickly. Where do you think would be?
Like Arsenal is the one major one being talked about, but I mean,
I don't know. I don't know
Chelsea
if I'd be
as well.
Yeah, I remember saying at the start of the season, if we got Tony or something like that, but like if we're going to spend, I wouldn't be spending 60-70 million on him. Like, you know, if you're going to have 67 million for a striker, you'd buy a striker, you know, go to get Osimhen from Napoli for 100 million. You know, I just thought I wouldn't spend. I'd maybe spend 40 to 50 million on him, maybe. But yeah, I don't think he'd be. I don't think he'd be the player that's going to be your star striker going forward for the next few years. Like, you know what I mean? He could be a better Eddie Nketiah. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
my opinion on it would be like Chelsea are the standard one that needs someone that's going to put the ball in the net. But just throw one into the mix, I think it'd be really interesting because I think it'd suit them so well and it'd really give them a serious platform. I think that West Ham should go in for him.
That'd be a good one, yeah. Yeah,
Why West Ham?
Why? Because I just think he's kind of like Antonio, except so much better. As in, like what he would give them. I know, but like Antonio does what he does for West Ham, and it works effectively. But I think that Tony is a striker. Like, he's a good finisher. He's strong. He can go in behind. He can hold the ball up as well, play in the air. I just think the way West Ham play, and West Ham have been, like, they really need a centre forward. I've been looking for one for quite some time. I just thought, of the clubs maybe that are, I would say just the next step up for Brentford, maybe if it's not going to one of the elite, because I don't know how many of them are in the market for striker. Like, we look at it as well, like Man United could still be in the market for a striker if as well in the not too distant future. As Holden he's young, he finds his feet, like. But I just thought West Ham was one that I kind of thought would be a good step up or a really good fit for the Hammers. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Interesting. We'll definitely keep an eye on that come January. Brighton versus Liverpool, Dan.
I've gone 3-1 Liverpool.
Really? 3-1 Liverpool.
So have I. Keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
3-1 Liverpool.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I just think the way Brentford will play, or Brighton will play, will kind of like Spurs. Like, we've seen them out of kind of space and chances that we got. We have serious firepower, and I think that that we could go there, and Brighton will press as well. It'll be an exciting game.
Actually, be a very good game,
yeah. And I just think that back line of Brighton, if you look at it, I don't think they've kept that many clean sheets. They are conceding goals on the regular now. So I think that I think there's a fair chance we could go there and we could maybe beat them by a couple. I have a feeling that there could be one of them where you think it's going to be a real tough one, but I know there's a small bit of that put in by the result against Villa. Like, they're not going to play that badly again. I think they were playing very, very well, and I'd imagine that we'll create a lot of chances. Yeah.
Okay. Howard, what do you think?
I've gone 3-1 Brighton.
Good man.
Can I have your rationale there, Howard? Go on, put it right.
Well, my rationale is your rationale, Dan, from last week, which was that you'd be happy with a point against Tottenham and a point against Brighton. So that's the rationale. No, the rationale is that Brighton just turn it on against the big teams, and they're a wounded animal. And like I said before, when they're down and out, that's when they come back. Now I think they do have Europa League, do they, during the week?
That was another reason
Thursday.
I forgot to say it. Yeah, I don't think that again. Where like, Liverpool are used to playing 2 games in a week. Brighton aren't. That was another thing. So, anyway, yeah,
All
they're
right.
they're away from home. Yeah.
Okay. So then the big match of the weekend is Arsenal versus Man City. Kieran, I'll go to you first on this one. What do you think?
I think that because Rodri is not available and Arsenal are at home, I think it's going to be 2-1 to Arsenal.
2-1 to Arsenal. Okay. Dan, what do you think?
He's adding us to his enemies list.
You're already on it.
Yeah. I've gone for Arsenal. Just do you know what? I picked the result kind of when we seen what picture we have, but the more even I thought about it, like City don't go on a run of losing a few games without like Pep getting onto them and them really coming firing. So I've gone for 2-1 Arsenal, but I was nearly inclined to flip it the opposite way. Just and that's my rationale in my head that just City won't go and lose a lot of games in a row like that. It's even losing back-to-back games nearly unheard of for Pep. But I've gone for 2-1 Arsenal, and again, kind of what Kieran has said there, due to the kind of Rodri and also the bit of Pep roulette that goes on. I think it's all well and good changing your back line regularly when you're playing against the lesser teams, but you struggle to pick what his starting 11 is going to be against Arsenal. It's a big game for the likes of Doku as well. They have a couple of players that aren't that experienced as well.
Yeah.
In the side now, City. So, and it's about time I think the fucking Arteta got one over on as well. Like fuck me, So I'm going for Arsenal 2-1. Yeah.
All right. And Howard, to yourself.
Yeah, I actually have the same 2-1 Arsenal. Look, I think it'll be an interesting game, just even after the first 10 minutes, 20 minutes, because it'll be interesting to see how Arsenal and Arteta set up, because I have a feeling he might be a bit more cautious this year than, let's say, when we played against them in the Emirates last year, because it like, I don't know, remember the Charity Shield, like it was kind of like, okay, let soak up any pressure, like, but like, City didn't really create many chances at Charity Shield, and Arsenal kind of got them on the counter attack in a few bits and pieces, but it was whatever, 0-0 or whatever it was. I just think that, like, I think if you're playing City like that, if they drew 2 games against City last year, they nearly would have won the title. I can't remember the points, the difference, or whatever. But like, losing 6 points against your title, the title challengers, you just can't do that. Like, either win or draw, but don't lose. So that might play a little part. So I'd be interested to see if he goes all out to try and get the win, or if he's a bit more cautious and it would, just don't concede silly chances. But Arsenal's away record this year in just general has been much better than their home record. So again, that is a bit of a worry too. So yeah, optimistically 2-1, and then my head would probably say could be a draw. And then yeah. Who
I'm
knows what else?
gonna.
Are any of your players back, Deck?
Grealish is back. There's talk of Silva being back. But apart from that, no, not really. That's what I mean. I'm gonna go for a draw. I think it could be 1-1, but I think Arsenal, like, if they really went for it, I think they could.
Yeah,
they could do a job on us on Sunday if they're brave enough to go for it.
Yeah.
If they kind of sit back and allow us to kind of have the possession, etc. I'd say I can see it being playing out as a 1-1 draw. But if Arsenal were brave enough, I think at the moment, without Rodri there, missing a few others, I think we could be there for the taking on Sunday, but it will depend on what Arteta does.
And it's a big kind of to see how much of a difference Rice makes as well. It's a game like that where you'll see like difference as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so there are predictions, and again, if you would like to send in your own predictions for those 4 games, and if you were to get all 4 correct scores, you will be the winner of a club jersey of your choice. So we've had a few weeks where there have been 1, definitely 2, but I mean, can you be the first? We'll wait and see. Now we'll move on to our fantasy football update. There's been some good movement on our panelists. So Dan, take it away.
Yeah, well, look, it was a lot of change there at the top as well. There's a bit of change up there. Keenan Cunningham, haven't got a clue, has had a monstrous couple of weeks there, and he is now leading top of the leaderboard.
Very good.
Yeah, he had Zuma, Areola, Douglas Luiz, Son. He actually has Morris in for Luton, so he doubled up there because they're playing obviously tomorrow night. Yeah, so he's top of the league there. I made my wild card choice to start off very well because I put in out Sterling and Jackson and put in Watkins and Diaby, so it couldn't have really went better. But I didn't really get a whole much else of a return really over the course of the weekend. And I'm actually looking at it here. Howard is 3 points ahead of me.
Oh,
Going into now, I do have two players playing tomorrow night, Howard.
yeah, don't worry about them, Dan.
We'll see. We'll see what happens there. I have a Burnley defender and a Luton defender. Like fuck me. So if I ever wanted a 0-0, it'd be tomorrow night.
Yeah, two sending off, so if you own goals coming your way.
But yeah, so that was I think Keenan is actually the Roma fan we're hoping to have on the show as well. So
good.
Yeah, he will be gloated if he's still doing well come the time that he comes on. He's one of them kind of lads, he really fucking he's an egotistical maniac, basically, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so look, that's pretty much that. I just can I give a shout out here as well because I was looking at the weekend. Remember we chat here at the start there that the Hurt Locker FC was really struggling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have Haaland, and he was near the bottom of the table. But he's actually now 6 points behind me and fucking 9 points behind Howard. So it just goes to show you get your shit together and you get a bit of a winning formula going. He's flying up the table as well. So, yeah.
Kieran, where do you find yourself?
I don't know. I have this thing with fantasy football. Yeah, Dan, please tell me where I am.
You're bottom. Tiny Dancers. Isn't it Tiny Dancers in the queue, isn't it?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
he's bottom of the table.
Saying that did you start a week later than everyone else?
Yeah, I started a week later, and I have just this terrible relationship with fantasy football where I make my team and then I forget it exists. So
yeah, I'm looking at your team here. You've definitely forgotten it's existed. Like, fuck me. You've Enzo
Tony Adams is still playing. What?
Enzo Fernandez. Let's go out here. Enzo Fernandez, McAllister.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you have a few then that kind of like Trent was out injured, Ferguson was out injured, so you kind of went through a bit of a run. But if you're not taking it, like you're fucked basically. So
okay, no, I had a look at the table as well. So I mean, Howard, Dan, you're up to 10th. Howard's up to 10th. Dan's at 11th.
Yeah, I still reckon I'll be ahead of Howard from the end of the actual game week. So we'll stay tuned for that one.
Oh, what's it called? I seen as well that like you're 25 points off the top. So I mean that's nothing.
Yeah.
So we could actually we could actually have a scenario where the two of you are closing in on the top. So that'd be pretty good. All right. So we move on now to our final segment, which is Monksland United. So last man standing. So this weekend there were 20 people eliminated. So there are 50 remaining. Dan, you tell me you're still one of them, yeah?
Yeah, I had two last man stands I'm in. The Monksland one I had Newcastle and the other one I had West Ham. So I'm still going strong.
Firing away. And just a reminder, the winner of the Monksland last man standing wins a nice, cool €500. So, I mean, you're down into the last 50, so we're rooting for you here. Come on.
Well, Deck, I'll tell you now on the podcast, and if it does go my way, Deck, I'll bring you, Howard, and Kieran out for a few drinks. How's that sound?
Oh.
That's the biggest lie. He said, don't listen to him. He's lying. Okay.
Sorry. I'll bring Kieran and Howard out for a few drinks.
That's more like it. A little bit of honesty. Good stuff. I know. So yeah, 50,
How many are left?
There's 50 people, 50 players remaining. So at the weekend, 15 people lost due to Everton, one person lost due to City, and 4 people went out due to United. So 50 people remaining.
If you look at the fixtures, if you look at the fixtures this week, I think it's the most difficult week so far to pick a result. I think, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We'll keep an eye on it. So again, just Monksland fixtures over the weekend. The Monksland A bet Burr Town 3-2. Scores were Dylan Jinks, Sean Ryan, and John Stapleton. Rolling back the years, Staple was good stuff. B team, Monksland B versus Portlaoise. Portlaoise 4, Monksland B 2. Under 17s, Temple Villa 3, Monksland United 1. So good and a bad week for Monksland. Right. gentlemen, that is it for this week. Thank you very much for joining us. That was good crack. The Premier League Moments segment was really good. Kieran, go ahead.
Can I raise some AOB?
Oh, I didn't realize there were any issues.
Oh, that's a good idea. Can we have this weekly?
Go for it. This isn't an agenda. This is a podcast, but go right ahead, Kieran.
As a friend of the pod, I'd like to use my kind of inside outside place in this pod to raise.
You're very much outside, but okay, go ahead.
What are the plans for the Football Fanatics podcast Christmas dinner being sponsored by the host? That's all I'm wondering.
Christmas dinner. It'll be a Christmas lunch.
Christmas dinner and wraparound that the host is providing to the rest of the staff.
Yeah, Christmas lunch, and I'm going to make you some turkey sandwiches. And I'm going to bring them up to Howard. I'll serve you a plate in the kitchen, no problem. Dan, I'm going to post you a turkey sandwich, and hopefully it gets to you. Yeah,
that's not very nice, Declan.
Well, look, it is what it is. You're not a very nice person, so I'm gonna give you it back in return. Gentlemen, thank you very much. That was a great episode, great crack. For those listening or watching, please do subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify. You can also keep up to date with all the podcast stuff on Football Fanatic Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All right, man, have a good week, and we'll be back talking to you next week, okay?
Cheers, Deck.
Bye.
Cheers, Deck.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one. Good luck.